Sports Extra with me, Ahmad Nawaz. A very special exclusive segment now. We're going to be talking about something very interesting, something that you don't normally see in your livelihoods probably. And you know, I got shell-shocked when I got to know there's so much to this young lad when we talk about him. And definitely somebody who has been, I think, phenomenal in encouraging him to achieve all of these great things that he has been in life as well. Before I introduce them, we've got a report. Let's just go take a look and then come back.
Mikaeel Ali is an 11-year-old Pakistani-American tennis protege who has earned a spot in the top 20 tennis players in Florida, USA. The young tennis star is all set to represent Pakistan wearing white and green at the Asian Junior ITF tournament being held in Islamabad. Mikaeel has a long list of achievements in different categories of tennis, including the under-12, under-14 and the under-16 categories. He has won numerous tennis tournaments in Florida, Michigan, Connecticut as well as Karachi and Hyderabad. He also holds a first-degree black belt in Taekwondo and is a former gymnast as well. But Mikaeel Ali Baig holds court in the field of tennis, where he is coached by his multi-talented father Shahbaz Ali Baig, who was an avid cricketer in his youth. Shahbaz is currently the human resource leader for Amazon in USA. He has also hosted several sports and current affairs programs on PTV News. Shahbaz has written a book called Save the Future of Pakistan as well. Mikaeel, along with the training and efforts of his father, are all set to make the nation proud.
Well, there you have it. All you need to know about these super people that I have with me on the show, the super duo of Mikaeel Ali and Mr. Shahbaz Ali Baig. We're very honored to be joined with them in studios, and definitely we're going to have a good chat about not just what they're achieving, but how do these superhuman abilities get here at such a young age? I think that's very particular that we need to know about. So first of all, I've been joined by the young lad, Mikaeel Ali. Assalamu alaikum, Mikaeel. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very good. Great to have you on the show. And we've also been joined by somebody who is definitely going to give out the secrets tonight on Sports Extra of how do you achieve something at such a young age, because we know parents can be a bit tough. Mr. Shahbaz Ali Baig. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm doing great. Thank you for having us on the show.
Great to have you on the show. But first of all, Mikaeel, before we talk about your career and your life, I think people want to know about this junior championship that you're going to be participating in.
Well, yeah, this is the first time that Pakistan is hosting the Asian Junior ITF tournament. It's a very big honor. Teams like India, Maldives, and Nepal are coming. The Pakistan Tennis Federation did the proper trials. The top 10 players from Pakistan had to compete against each other. And thankfully, I qualified. And I just want to give my 200%, even if we don't win. But I just want to give all my efforts for my team and for Pakistan.
It's absolutely freaky that you're a gymnast, you're a black belt holder as well. So does that give you like a superhuman edge over other tennis players now? Because what we expect from Mikaeel to do is jump from court to court and just keep smashing tennis balls.
Well, I never really thought of it like that, but yeah, gymnastics made me very flexible and Taekwondo made me very focused and disciplined.
Disciplined as well. You know, these are some things that are associated with this young lad, but I'm sure that as he progresses to a certain age, I think we're going to explore so many talents with him, and he's going to be, you know, throughout the world we see sportsmen who are involved in multiple sports. I truly think that Mikaeel is going to be there as well. Mr. Shahbaz, first of all, I think you couldn't have asked for a better son than this, who's doing everything possible in the world of sports. But what has inspired you to be a parent that has encouraged his child to just go all out for sports? Because we know that in our culture, in society, it gets really tough for the parents to actually realize their children's potential.
Yeah, I think, you know, in my case, what I think is like for any parent, it's not necessarily sports, is like, you know, how can we teach our kids to be focused? Because now, as you know, with social media and games and everything else that you have around you, you know, kids don't have focus anymore. I remember when he was very little, like 1.5 years old, his first word that he actually learned was the word focus. And I remember I saw him at 2 years old, just like shooting basketballs all day long. And he was like 2, and in his diapers, he's playing tennis. So I knew that he's into sports. I put him into 3 sports. 2 of them is martial arts and gymnastics when he was 4 years old. And I think people always tell me, oh, why did you do that? And why are you having him play multiple sports? Well, I think there was a reason for it. because one, gymnastics makes you extremely flexible. Number two, martial arts makes you extremely focused and disciplined. So when he's playing tennis, he's one of the few players that you will see even from his highlights on hard court who can slide like Novak Djokovic, because you need that flexibility. So all those sports comes handy, not just in tennis, but I think in life, because if you have discipline and you have focus and you can deal with adversity, because in sports there are ups and there are downs. If you can deal with those as a young 10 years old, then I think in life when things go bad and difficult, you know how to handle them.
You know, it's absolutely like I'm hosting the senior Kent and Clark Kent on my show, because that's what it feels like. You know, Mr. Baig just found a young baby Superman, and then he figured out, oh, he's got talents, and that's how he's making it. But you've also, you know, been involved in a journey of writing a book that's called Save the Future of Pakistan.
Yeah.
So that we do realize that even the current government right now, or even the Prime Minister has always stressed that Pakistan has a true youth bulge, a good potential, where we've got the largest population that is from the youth sector. So exactly what does this book entitle?
Well, you nailed it actually. So I'm impressed you've actually read or haven't. I think one, I'll tell you, when you brought up the Prime Minister, I think I was and still am one of his biggest fans when he was a captain of Pakistan team. Someday we'll talk about his leadership in 1992 World Cup. I think it's a case study. So that's a different topic for another day. But I think his point and what you're saying is valid. When you look at what we have in Pakistan, you know, we don't have oil, we don't have minerals, we don't have all the gold and everything else. But what we have is massive percentage of our population is youth, right? Young generation. You go to Canada, Australia, Europe, there is an aging population. There is a reason why Australia and Canadians say, please, we'll bring in more immigrants, because they need workforce. They don't have it. It's aging population. We have youth. So the purpose of my book, Save the Future of Pakistan, I wrote it when he was actually born. And it was basically a playbook. Like, hey, if you kind of invest in a child at an early age and really focus on their emotional development, their physical and mental development, long term, the return on investment is for Pakistan. So I think that's why I wrote that book as a playbook for parents, teachers, and leaders, and hopefully some of them can learn something from it.
Definitely. I think I ought to get a signed copy just to make sure that I'm able to raise some super kids as well. So you never know. That might be that secret core ingredient that you need in order to excel as. But like your father mentions that he found out your potential at a very young age. So you still, mashallah, got a long way to go. But I have to ask you that, was this just completely natural that, because we know kids have got a lot of energy, so instead of using it here and there, you focused it right on sports. So is that like your particular focus that, yeah, I want to be a sportsman?
Well, it wasn't like my specific focus, but when I just wanted to play sport, and then I started loving the sport because I guess that's what I found fun, because I always love competition, and sports give me the competition, and that brings a lot of joy to me.
Did that mean that you were breaking a lot of stuff around the house? Because that genuinely happens with us.
Not really.
But I did break your nose once.
Oh, well, yeah, when we were playing
basketball.
mini basketball, and he shot the basketball, and then it hit my nose, and then it was.
But praise be to the Lord that was mini basketball, and that didn't have like.
But it still had the normal
blood was
big
coming out and everything.
basketball.
But so what's the aim right now? If we talk about people who want to be inspired by Mikaeel Ali, we know right now, currently you're playing tennis and you're representing Pakistan. But where do you see yourself in the future? I know that's a very tough question. Even we ask that to grown-ups and they tend to say, okay, let me think about it. But I know you're, like he mentioned, your first word was focus. So where do you see yourself in a couple of years now?
Well, I hope that I can become, in a few years, a professional tennis player. And then after that, I want to be a tennis coach.
So tennis is that ultimate field that you want to
Yeah, and also I want to have a job like this. And then I like movies, and I like stunts, so an actor. I want to be like an actor.
Or
And
maybe stunt double.
Yeah.
Something like
the
that.
stunt man.
Yeah, the stunt man.
And maybe run for office.
Run for office. I was hoping that we get to hear one of that because I am always a fan of young leaders, and I truly think that that's going to go a long way. But Mikaeel, we do understand that in Pakistan we've got limited resources. I think you understand that right now at such a young age. But like your father mentions that we've got talent. How do you see the current situation of sports in Pakistan, especially tennis, and how do you think we can improve?
Well, I think there's a lot of good tennis players here, and I think the way we can bring more tennis to Pakistan and other sports is doing like what we're doing right now, just talking about other sports, because cricket, everyone talks about.
It's a dominant sport, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not in Olympics, and sports like tennis, squash, gymnastics, and taekwondo, those are all in the
Olympic
Olympics.
sports, yeah.
And we can just talk about those, and then people will start doing it, and then we'll have more and more people doing different sports.
I think that's a wonderful point that he mentions, that let's just focus, and that's one of the key elements of Sports Extra on PTV World, that we try to focus on all sports that are there as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Baig, very important question right now. You have worked in the States as well. You understand the dynamics. The government has really stressed about overseas Pakistanis being the biggest asset for our country.
Yeah.
How important is it for a patriotic guy like you to bring all of that experience back to the country, and in order to make sure that the development of not just sports in Pakistan but the youth potential also gets realized?
Yeah, as you said, right? I mean, when you are living abroad as a Pakistani, you have double responsibility. I mean, every single day when I'm out in the grocery store, or I'm walking on the street, or I'm at work, I look at myself and I know I'm an ambassador of Pakistan. Whatever I do, eyes are on me, because people have a wrong perception of us Pakistanis, right? So you have to break that perception, and you do that by actually showing them, hey, we are just good, hardworking, middle-class people. We are not, terrorists and whatnot. So I think as an overseas Pakistani, one, you become an ambassador of Pakistan. So when my son is playing sports, I always tell him, respect your competitors, be respectful on the court and off the court, because anyone who's going to see him is going to see him as a Pakistani. And so I know I have done a lot of contribution. I have actually hired a lot of qualified engineers in Pakistan and many other things. You talked about the book, and I'm just very proud, and I want Mikaeel to follow the same footsteps and do whatever he can in his own capacity to do more. I just want to do one plug for PTV, because I've been watching, PTV World and PTV Sports Extra you're talking about. One of the things that I really like, and my son, he's watching it all the time, is because you are covering so many different sports, and I think that is fantastic. Obviously, hey, cricket is my obsession too, so I love that we talk about it, but at the same time, I like the fact that PTV focuses on so many different sports, and I think that is fantastic.
I think, Mr. Baig, we've really got to say that we're really honored to have you on the show, and Mikaeel. And we understand that it's because of people like you that Pakistan enjoys such a good reputation all around the world. And I think on behalf of our proud Pakistani nation, we'd like to thank you for your services, not just your book, but I think all the great thoughts and the great potential that you highlight about being a proud Pakistani, even in the States. That's really something that makes that green flag fly high. So thank you so much for you and to your honesty for this country that you've got.
No, you're welcome. I think that's, as I said, that is our responsibility. One of the things I'll tell you, when I tell Mikaeel when he's here playing for Pakistan Tennis Federation, I said, you are not playing for yourself. Don't worry about anything else. Don't expect anything from anyone. Your job is to do one thing and one thing only, which is to make sure that your team is as successful as they can be. Full stop. I'll just say one quick thing, if you're okay with it. I think one thing that I just want to say is, when you look at sports like tennis, these are extremely expensive sports. And one of the things, I think that's the challenge that we have in Pakistan. So, as a family, you have to invest a lot of your time into it, but also it takes a village to raise a good, successful kid. And so, I just want to give a shout out. For example, one of the companies, a local company, it was a construction company, reached out and they said, oh, Mikaeel has done so much, because they look at his performance, there's no doubt about it. They see his potential, and they said, how can we help? And Bodla Group actually kind of, sponsored some of the, help
as a
that
corporate
they can do.
responsibility.
Yeah, as a corporate responsibility. There's nothing we can give them, but what they're doing is something that, I appreciate. But I think even for others and people in other sports, they need it, because you get those corporate social responsibility in cricket and maybe hockey, but in individual sports you get very little.
That's very important.
Yeah.
I'll take that as well. But thank you so much for being on the show. I'm not just
you're
going to
welcome.
miss this opportunity. I'm going to hang on to Mikaeel, but because we've got the US Open in our next segment,
right.
and I've been told when it comes to the US Open, he's going to have all that there is to say, not just about the current players, but I also know that he's got a bit of history to him as well regarding the US Open. So we're just going to go towards a short break, but we'll be right back with Mikaeel Ali, and Meheq Khokhar will be joining us as well in order to talk more about the US Open. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Extra. Time now for our US Open segment. Let's just go watch this report and then come back.
Leylah Fernandez and Emma Radacanu roar into the US Open Grand Slam final. Raducanu's growth over the past 3 weeks has been outstanding, as she outplayed everyone put in front of her. Raducanu so. At the age of just 18, Raducanu became the first qualifier to reach a Grand Slam final in the Open era and extended her own astonishing run by defeating Aryna Sabalenka. Together, the two players opened.
There you have it, all you need to know about the US Open. Who would have thought two teenagers going out in a final of a Grand Slam? I just could not let this opportunity go, so I'm hanging on to Mikaeel Ali. Mikaeel, first of all, your thoughts on this year's US Open. I was bummed because I'm a Federer fan not having him, but we do know that when it comes to the men's singles, we'll go to that in just a short amount of time. But your thoughts, first of all, on having two teenagers in the final.
Well, no one expected this. I never expected this. I saw Leylah Fernandez play like last year, and me and my dad thought that she was good, but we didn't think that she was going to be in a Grand Slam final here. I think both of them are really tough competitors, and they've both been saying in their interviews that they have nothing to lose. So they said they're just having fun, and maybe that's the secret of success.
Is it a bit good for tennis now, because we've got two young teenagers, like you said, who had nothing to lose, knocked out all of the top seeds that were there, and now it's like, they're up against each other at one point because they're teenagers. So is that a bit interesting to watch now?
Oh yeah, I think this is very interesting. I was actually calling it from the quarterfinals that maybe they'll play each other in the finals. And I have honestly no clue who will win.
That's important, but then again, we know that things have been happening regarding this as well, and also on the men's side, we've got a tough competition. Now we've been joined by tennis player and fellow anchor at PTV, Miss Meheq Khokhar. Meheq, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Sports Extra.
Assalamu alaikum, thank you for having me.
Meheq, Leylah Fernandez and Emma Radacanu, two teenagers in the final. As a tennis player, how exciting is this to watch?
Honestly, they're both surprise newcomers. We know that Emma Radacanu was, people got to know her before this tournament in Wimbledon. She was a surprise, to everybody's surprise, she made it to the fourth round. And I don't even think, even she said, when she was giving an interview, that she wasn't expecting to go past the qualifying. And she did. She booked her seat for right after qualifying. So she's like, it's good problems that I have. But I mean, it's just remarkable how somebody's a qualifier and they make it to the final, and she hasn't dropped a single set yet. On the other hand, we've got Leylah Fernandez, who's beaten all the big names so far. She was 18, she turned 19 in this tournament. She went on to defeat the defending champion Naomi Osaka in 3 really tough sets. Then she goes on to beat another former Grand Slam champion, Angelique Kerber, in 3 sets again. Then she goes on to play Elena Svitolina, who is the number 6 seed, I believe, and she defeats her in straight sets. In the 3rd set is 7-6. It goes into a tiebreaker, and she wins it on her first match point. I mean, that takes immense mental strength, at such a young age. It's your first time on such a big stage. It's your first time, and you handle it all so well. And I think that's what makes champions.
Definitely, but who are you siding with? Because that's the tough question tonight on Sports Extra, Meheq. Are you going to say Leylah Fernandez or Emma?
Yeah, I think they've both been remarkable, but honestly, I think Leylah Fernandez is going to win.
Well, Leylah Fernandez is what she's siding for. What about you?
I think Emma's going to win.
I'm glad you said that, because I truly have a hunch Emma might just clinch this and make all British history. That being said, Mikaeel, we've got to move on very quickly to the men's as well. Novak Djokovic, do you think, is he set for tennis immortality, or do you think that somebody like Daniel Medvedev might just get in his way?
I think he has a strong chance still, because he's really confident. He really wants all 4 Grand Slams, so I think he's going to do whatever it takes
in your opinion as a tennis player, what makes him so different? Because this is something that we've never seen before, a player who's got such a mental strength.
Yeah.
And we had Andy Roddick saying that first he takes away your legs and then he takes away your soul.
So
what makes him so different?
One, I think he can get to almost every ball. And also he barely misses, and he'll just and he doesn't even play soft. He can still hit very hard and aggressive, and he has calm composure. And even if he loses the first set, he always comes out strong and just exactly what Andy Roddick said.
Absolutely, takes away your legs and then takes away your soul. Meheq, Khokhar, your final thoughts very quickly on the men's singles. We still have Felix, who's going against Daniel Medvedev, but Djokovic is facing Alexander Zverev.
I think Medvedev's going to take that one, and as much as I kind of hope that Zverev wins, I think it's pretty tough to beat Djokovic right now. I know he's lost the first set in 5 out of the 6 matches he's played so far, but I still think that he's out for that career Grand Slam and that 21st Grand Slam title. Wants to overcome his rivals Federer and Nadal, and I think he's going to be able to do that. Because just like Mika said and you said, that honestly his mental strength is just absolutely brilliant. He can bounce back from anywhere. We've seen it from match points, from championship points, and just how he always comes back, even if he's a set down, 2 sets to love down, match point down, the way he comes back is just extraordinary. I do think it's still possible to beat him in this tournament, but I think likely it looks like that Djokovic will get through to the final and then most likely win the tournament.
Definitely. Meheq, Khokhar, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Extra. Mikaeel, thank you so much for joining us as well. You're a real inspiration, and we've got I think so many good wishes and prayers for you. We're going to leave it at that from me and the entire team of Sports Extra until our next show. It's goodbye for now.